a lot of my
Be more news.
early sculpture using beads and glass
Joyce Scott.
and my
Honest
print work.
extraordinaire.
You know, when I went to undergraduate school, I thought I'd be a painter and I was disabused. I was told by them to stop painting for the benefit of myself and the entire human race. I always thought I'd be a teacher, but I didn't really think I'd study it like this. I became a teacher in the education department, and what was really enlightening is that I kept relearning from them or enhancing my knowledge about the things that my mom already taught me. She already taught me how to sew. She already taught me about pottery. She already taught me about weaving and basket making. And so then I got a more formalized education about it, and it was something that I could easily teach. However, I decided that I would be a 700-pound alcoholic if I taught in the public school district. So I went like any other self-respecting hippie to Mexico, and that's where I got my master's degree. And that is also where a lot of my weaving was elevated by working there. The prints are my way of painting. I worked many places, but one of the places is at a print studio here. One was the Goya Contemporary. Goya was a print studio, but now it's my gallery. And the other is Soul Prints, which is a friend who is a printer who lets me use her printing space as well. You guys can ask me questions too, or we'll push off, as they say. Yes.
Can you speak a little bit more when you say that your prints are the way of painting? What that was for you?
If you think about printing, usually you make an image and they repeat that image over and over again. I do what are called monoprints. So I paint on a piece of plastic or a stone, and we usually get just one print out of it. Sometimes there's something called a ghost or an image that's still existing, so I'll go back and paint on that. And so each print is a one of a kind. I think though, and like these Obama prints are a good example. There's that basic face, but each time I change the colors, and that one he has Yoda ears, but I gave him Mickey Mouse. You know how they yelled about Obama's ears. So I made him all kinds of ears and Buddha ears and everything. And then I've done all kinds of series where I could take components from one print and then shift it around and then print again. So they're really a series other than my doing exactly the same print over and over and over and over again. However, I have a print show at Goya Contemporary, which is in the Mill Center. This is Amy's gallery, and it is a print show of my work. And there's a series there, a suite, that is the same thing over and over again. That was beautifully done. And I'm suggesting you go, not only because the prints are there, but there's a collaborative glass piece that takes one entire wall that I did with Tim Tate at the Washington Glass School. I want you to know that for me, art is breathing, it's nourishing, it's all-encompassing. So I am someone who's antsy and never satisfied with one thing. Shut up, Lord. My sister said I used to dance in front of the TV, and then she hit me in movies. You know you were violent. Don't have to say it. Anyway, and she kicked me down the steps once. Go ahead, deny it. Go ahead. But I am not satisfied unless I am trying to make these things happen, and the materials don't always beckon me in the same way. So I'm always looking for something that can answer a question and then pose another question. Here's Earl Jones, one of Baltimore's famous jewelers.
So I think that's a perfect moment to talk a little bit about, we talked about dancing in front of the television. We just passed a television. We have sound, we're hearing music. So performance on the stage as the Thunder Thigh Review, but also solo, what has that been about for you?
Well, I really did jump in front of the TV, so I was a performer very young in my life. And the difference between being a performer and this discrete work is that I'm not here to talk to you about it. So you make all your own decisions. when you are performing, you're telling people what you want them to know. Of course, they make their own decisions, but you've told them exactly what that means. And if you're good, and I became a good performer by working with Kayla Wall, we were called the Thunder Thigh Review for years, and then I went off to work with other companies, and then I worked on my own. If you can consistently develop your craft, then people will want to listen to what you have to say. We employed music as well as we wrote everything ourselves. I did the costumes, I did a lot of the sets and props, but a lot of them were done by our artist friends who we nagged them into making stuff for us. And it was really a way for me to be able to overtly and blatantly tell you what I was thinking about. That's different than the other way.
So I was hoping, since we're standing next to Buddha Gives Basketball to the Ghetto, you could talk about the importance of Buddha in your work.
Who is this person? That's Leslie. I went to Thailand many years ago, and I went into a Wat, which is a name for a temple, and it was lined with black Buddhas all the way around the wall. So of course I'm like this. And because the people in Thailand are many different skin tones. Buddha is not a god. He's a guy who really worked until he was highly enlightened and could share that with other people. So I thought about enlightenment in many different ways. Buddha gives basketball to the ghetto. And this is about perseverance, working really hard in that ladder, which you know from all of those religious songs, Going Up Yonder and all of that, is people who really work hard and they get to the top of their career. And there are others who just like to play or don't work hard enough. So Buddha appears in a lot of my work because he talks about the ability to become one with yourself and to evolve into a wonderful, knowledgeable person, but you have to work at it. And so that's in a lot of my work. And because you look at it, this is a lot of work.
I want you all to know there are 140 works in this show, made from the 1970s to like yesterday, and it is a fraction of the total work that you have made. We must be honest about this, but I'm also really amazed, and I think it underlines something to say that of the 78 different individuals or museums that loaned us this work, 30 of those are institutions, so 30 different museums across 20 different states, across the entire country, and that's not even including international collections, actually care for and preserve the work of Joyce Scott. And that says something about, I think, legacy and significance in history. So before we move on, I want to ask you to talk a little bit about this group of works, the Mammy Nanny works, since we're thinking about your mom a lot today.
Okay. Yes, we're giving homage to my mom, who passed when she was 95 years old. One of my mother's jobs was to be a nanny, housekeeper, take care of children. That's what this suite of brown leather figures are. And sometimes my mom would talk about coming home on the bus and how they'd all be on the bus coming home and telling stories about Miss Ann. That was a euphemism for the white women that they were working for, Miss Ann. Some were really good, some weren't. One of the overarching or overriding things that my mother and they all talked about is how they cared for the children and how the children became theirs in many ways.